Lon Davis has been waiting for this for months.
There it is.
His book, titled Silent Lives, is a collection of biographies about the actors who created Hollywood's silent movie era, a time that is all but forgotten to modern moviegoers.
It was a great art, a lost art, to be able to tell a story in a completely visual way.
There are no spoken words. Instead, music was used to set the mood, and it was the actors' expressions and movements that told the rest of the story, from the flickering images of Fatty Arbuckle's slapstick comedy to the unmistakable waddle of Charlie Chaplin. Douglas Fairbanks as a swashbuckling Zorro, and the young woman who became known as America's sweetheart, Mary Pickford. The first time Lon laid eyes on them, he was just 9 years old.
In those days, they used to have 8mm films that were a couple dollars a piece, and I had a projector. I used to run those and show them to my friends.
But as much as he marveled at the way these stories were told, he became increasingly curious about the people who made them.
It just so happens that Lon Davis's uncle was in silent films, and it was when that uncle went to live at a retirement home for Hollywood's own in Woodland Hills, California, that Lon got the opportunity to meet a lot of those famous faces face to face.
And there was not a lot of security in those days, and I was able to roam free from one room to the next, going into the room unannounced, and just sit down and say, "Tell me about your career."
And Lon took it all in.
These are all my biographies in their original form.
He finally compiled it all into Silent Lives, the good, the bad, and the secrets of some of Hollywood's biggest stars.
Hollywood has not changed as much as people think. There was as much scandal, maybe even more, in the 20s. They just knew how to cover it up better in those days.
We'll never know all that Hollywood had to offer. It's believed that as many as 70% of silent films no longer exist. They deteriorated before they could be saved. And Lon says too many people are missing out on those that did survive.
People have the impression that silent films are badly acted. They're not. Granted, there are bad silent films, but there are many, many great ones.
Rudolph Valentino, Harold Lloyd, and Buster Keaton among some of the greats, capturing a time when Hollywood was inventing itself and audiences begged to be entertained.
Women practically ran the silent era.
If there's one thing Lon Davis knows, it's silent films.
I got a chance to know a lot of people who were actually part of the industry.
In fact, it's the premise for this author's new book titled Silent Lives. But as much as he enjoys writing about Hollywood's so-called golden age,
Harold Lloyd made one final film for Hal Roach, and it was the film we're going to see today.
sharing it with others is a true treat. Lon hosts regular seminars for residents of the Willamette Oaks retirement apartments in Eugene.
It cost $220,000 to make, which was quite a big production then.
And over the last 7 years, he's shown dozens of movies and shared lots of information.
And that made it one of the biggest box office attractions of 1923.
And with each presentation, his audience has grown. And some of those people, like Bernice Homan, actually remember going to the theater and paying a dime to watch a silent film.
I was a little farm girl, and so we went to town on Saturday night. And I had the choice of spending that whole dime.
Lon calls silent films a lost art. Many actually deteriorated before they could be preserved. And the ones that did survive are not appreciated by most modern moviegoers.
And silent films are made for the whole family. They're not called family films, but they knew how to make films in those days without resorting to a lot of the crude kind of humor that's being used today.
I think what fascinated me more than anything is the way they had the pianist, really putting her in high gear and really playing when the train wreck would happen.
Lon's biggest fan has to be his wife, Deborah, and an appreciation for Hollywood's early films is something they share.
You see people interacting in a way that is of a different time, and if you really want to know what it was like in the 20s, you watch a silent film, and that really is more of a depiction. It's fascinating.
And more fascinating decades later to fans like Bernice Homan, reliving her childhood.
It was exciting because we didn't have TV, so this was something just out of this world.
A world now brought back to life by one man's passion for the past. In Eugene, I'm Kelly Warner reporting.